Hey guys, welcome back to Hillside Homesteading. I'm Salisha. Today I'm making bagels and I thought, you know what, I might as well bring you guys along with me as I make these bagels because it is a nice sunny day here, but it's not that warm, so I'm hanging out inside. I'll be doing some farm chores in my next video, so make sure you guys come back for those. But for now, we're gonna be making some gluten-free bagels, and they don't take very long at all, but you can make these bagels in pretty much no time, and you can have soft, delicious, homemade bagels basically anytime you want. So let me show you how I make them. Okay, so for these bagels, I'm just gonna tell you the ingredients and then I'm gonna basically dump everything in the bowl. For these bagels, we're gonna need 3 cups of gluten-free flour, 1.5 teaspoons of xanthan gum. I showed you guys the xanthan gum in the last video as well. 1 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 teaspoons of instant yeast, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1.25 cups of water, and 2 tablespoons of butter melted. Okay, so I'm gonna melt my butter and get the warm water and the yeast in the bowl so it starts proofing. So let's do that first. Yeast, sugar, water, salt. Just gonna give it a little stir. So we're just gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes and then we're gonna add the rest of the ingredients and combine it all really well. So we're gonna combine all the ingredients and we're gonna let it sit for about ½ hour for it to rise, and then we'll move on to the next step. So let's combine the rest of the ingredients first. So we're gonna get the flour, the xanthan gum, and the butter. Now in here I'm gonna actually use my tallow. So I don't have very much of my tallow left. We've been using a lot of it, but I'm gonna use the 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm gonna use tallow instead. This is all I have left. I've been using it in baking, frying, everything basically that you use butter in, I've been using it in there. And melted butter, lard, tallow. Okay. Now we're gonna get the flour in. So this is my gluten-free flour blend that I have here. I'll show you guys how I make this in another video, but just use whatever gluten-free flour blend you have. If you have a bread flour or anything like that will work. And I also believe you can use just regular flour here and this will also work. So just regular bread flour. Okay. All right, now the xanthan gum. Okay, so now that we have all the ingredients in, we're gonna give it a good mix. So again, the ingredients are 3 cups of gluten-free flour, or just bread flour, 1.5 teaspoons xanthan gum, but if you're using regular bread flour, you won't need the xanthan gum. That's just for gluten-free flour. You can try it with regular bread flour, but no guarantees. So 3 cups of gluten-free bread flour, 1.5 teaspoons xanthan gum, in addition to what's already in your flour blend. 1 teaspoon salt, 2.5 teaspoons instant fast-acting yeast, 2 tablespoons packed brown sugar, or just regular cane sugar will work, because that's what I used. 1¼ cups of warm water, and 2 tablespoons melted butter. You're also gonna need, once we ready for the next step, you're gonna need a little bit of molasses, so about 1 tablespoon, and then you're also gonna need 2 tablespoons of baking soda. And that's for when we're ready to boil the bagels. Now we're just gonna knead the dough. And I'm not adding any more flour or anything. Just gonna keep the dough as is. It doesn't really stick because we added a lot of extra xanthan gum in here, and that really helps hold the flours together. Without the xanthan gum, the bread gets very, the flour probably wouldn't even come together like this. It would be very crumbly, and the bread would just be more of a hard brick-like instead of coming together, holding itself together, and making the bread nice and chewy. This bagel dough is similar to the bread dough that I make, but instead of using yeast in the bread dough, we use sourdough starter. So I'm just kneading this for like a minute or two. If you want, you can do this in your KitchenAid mixer as well, but I'm just using my hands for a couple minutes. I just find it's quicker. And then okay, so your dough will be a lot bigger. I just made half of it today. So we're just gonna form it into like a log, and then we're just gonna cut this. Okay, so this is about half. I'm just gonna split it. And then another half. Split it. Half. So that they're all about equal sizes. I'm just gonna roll them into bagel shapes, and then we're gonna let them rise. So roll them into a circle. That's how I do it. I just roll it into a nice circle. Make sure you roll it really good and work that dough. And then we're gonna just gonna squeeze my finger in it like this. And then I'm just rolling the dough out with my hands like this. Sealing up any little broken parts. And I'm just working the dough around my fingers like this, making the hole a little bit bigger. You don't have to, you can make the hole as big or as small as you want, really. That's up to you. But I'm just gonna do it like that. There we go, one beautiful bagel. I'm just gonna pop it in my bowl here, and I'm just gonna go around and put all the bagels. They'll be boiling in 2 tablespoons of baking soda and 1 tablespoon of molasses. And we're gonna boil them in a pot of water. Has to be a nice deep pot so that they're completely submerged. And then bring the water up to a boiling point. We'll drop them in for about 30 seconds per side. And then you're gonna flip them for another 30 seconds and take them off, put them on your baking sheet. I'm gonna use a parchment paper lined baking sheet, and then we're gonna bake them until they're nice and golden brown. So, just gonna form these. Okay guys, so all 4 of the bagels, I have 4 here, but your recipe will make 8. I just halved my recipe, so I only made half, but your recipe will make 8. So once you get all of them ready and they look nice like this, so we're gonna let this sit and rise for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you can leave it for the full 20 minutes, the bagels will puff up even more. So I'll see you back in 20 minutes. baking soda and molasses. It's going in now. Give it a good stir. Now we're going to drop the bagels in. One, two at a time. And they're going to rise to the top. About 30 seconds per side. I'm going to put it on my parchment paper, lined baking sheet. Two more here. One, two. I'll be baking them in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, turning the heat off now. These are ready. I'm just going to use an egg with a little bit of water to brush over them, and we're going to get them in the oven. Okay, now they're on a baking sheet lined with parchment. I'm going to brush them with some egg wash, and then we'll get them in the oven to bake for 15 to 20 minutes. Egg and water, and I'm just gonna quickly brush these guys with some egg wash. Okay, that's it. They're ready to go in the oven. Okay, so the bagels are in the oven. We're gonna bake them for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna set mine for 16 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back and check to see how they look. And if they don't look very brown, I'm gonna leave them for another 2 to 3 minutes. But if they look done, we're gonna take them out and we're gonna let them rest completely till they're completely cool before we cut into them. You don't ever wanna cut into bread while it's still hot, because then it just ruins the texture and it gets very gummy and it doesn't get nice and light and chewy. So make sure you let the bagels actually rest before you cut into them. All right guys, the bagels are all done. Just gonna get them on the cooling rack here. Takes for about 16 minutes. So they're all done. We're just gonna let them cool down completely, and then we'll slice into it and I'll show you how it looks and how it tastes. I'm so excited. Okay guys, so the bagels are all done. It's been about 10-15 minutes. I should be waiting longer before I cut these open, but I really want to have one and I really want to show you guys what they look like. So let's cut one open and show you what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of these and slice them open. Let's go with this one. So they should be resting a lot longer before you cut them open. But look at that. They're really soft. Like super soft. Let's get some butter on it and try it. They're still really hot, so the butter will melt. All right guys, the bagels are ready. I have some butter on here. Oh my gosh. They're really soft. Oh. Buttery. Oh my God. These bagels are so good. They're really soft. Not hard or crunchy or anything. So good. Okay, I'm gonna finish eating this. You guys, go make this. It's so good. And it's not difficult at all. It only took me about half an hour to make this. And that's with putting all the ingredients together, baking it. Putting the ingredients together and kneading it only takes about 10 minutes. And then you're boiling it for like a minute. And then you're baking it for 15 minutes. Very quick. And because we're using the instant yeast, you don't have to let it rise for copious amounts of time. 15 to 20 minutes rise. See that? That's a really good bagel. So soft and yummy. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you enjoy my bagel recipe and I'll see you in the next one. Stay peaceful.